In this course, we're going to cover one of the most important topics in Nectarblocks, layout fundamentals. With Nectarblocks, you don't need to write any CSS to take advantage of modern layout techniques. We provide core building blocks, rows, columns, and containers to let you visually design with the same flexibility you would get from Flexbox and a structured grid framework. Once you understand how these work, you'll be able to build just about any section or arrangement of content that you can imagine. Let's start with container elements. These are the blocks that house other blocks. Think of them as the scaffolding of your page. The foundation of your layout is the row block. Rows are used to house columns, which contain all of your content blocks, like text, images, buttons, or anything else you add. In practice, most sections on your site will be built inside of rows. There's one common exception: text-heavy content like blog posts. In that case, you can use text blocks directly inside of the editor without putting them inside of rows and columns. Next, we have columns. The column block is what allows you to structure content side by side. Columns always live directly inside of rows. That's their home. You can't drop a column anywhere else. When you first add a row, you'll be presented with a set of common column arrangements, like a full width column, two halves, or thirds. This makes it easy to start with a structure that matches the design you have in mind. From there, you can always adjust or refine it. You can drag the column handle left or right directly on the canvas, or use the column width slider in the sidebar settings. By default, columns follow a 12-column grid system, so their width is based on twelfths. If you want to break out of that and create custom widths, you can switch to the parent row and edit the constraint setting. There is an option called Free Flow. With that option active, columns are no longer bound to the grid and you can drag them to any custom size you need. Inside each column, you also have Flexbox controls for aligning and distributing the blocks that it contains. You can center content vertically, space elements evenly, or align everything to the top or bottom. One of the most powerful features of columns is that they can be adjusted responsively. You can resize and order them separately for desktop, tablet, and mobile. For example, here I have 3 columns on desktop, and I can quickly rearrange them into a more visually appealing structure for tablet. Nectarblocks allows most block settings to be adjusted responsively, and we'll go into greater depth with the responsive system in a later course. The third container option is the Flexbox. Like columns, it uses CSS Flexbox under the hood. The difference is where and how you can use it. Columns are only available as direct children of rows, but the Flexbox can be added anywhere, inside columns or even nested inside of other Flexboxes. You should use the Flexbox for micro layouts. For example, a horizontal row of avatars inside of a column, a vertical stack of features with even spacing, or a quick alignment wrapper to control how groups of blocks sit together. Let's take a step back and talk about navigating through nested block structures. As your layouts get more advanced, you'll often find blocks nested inside one another. For example, a button inside of a column inside of a row. To keep things manageable, there are 2 main ways to quickly select the block you want to edit. The first is the Document Overview panel. It gives you a tree list view of all the blocks in your page so you can see exactly how everything is structured and jump straight to the one that you want. The second is the Select Parent Block button directly inside of the block toolbar. Whenever you click on a block in the editor, you'll see this button on the left side of the toolbar. Clicking it moves your selection up 1 level, letting you easily traverse to the parent element. All container elements in Nectarblocks, rows, columns, flexboxes, have access to a full set of background layer controls. Backgrounds help define sections and add visual depth to your layouts. The background layers available to you include images, videos, colors, and even shapes. When adding a background image, it can either be stretched to cover the area or repeated as a pattern to create textures. You can use the color layer to display a solid color or create an overlay which will sit on top of the other background layers. To create an overlay, you can lower the opacity of your image or video background so that the color blends through. Or you can place the color layer above the media by adjusting the Z-index. Video backgrounds are ideal for hero sections. You can also adjust the opacity to blend a video into the other layers. One tip that I have for video backgrounds below the top level of your page is to enable lazy loading. This will save bandwidth and improve the page load speed. And finally, shape backgrounds add SGV shapes over your background. They give you a creative way to style the edges of your sections or add decorative accents. Let's talk about images really quickly. To make sourcing images faster, Nectarblocks includes built-in Unsplash integration. This gives you direct access to a huge library of free, high-quality photos right inside of the editor. When selecting media, you can switch into the Nectar Images tab. You can search by keywords and then narrow it down further with specific color and orientation filters. Once you've found the perfect image, click on the Import Image button on the bottom right. This will download the image to your server and select it in your media library. Okay, so that covers the foundation of layout in Nectarblocks. Up next, we'll dive into editing modes and take a closer look at how responsive design works in Nectarblocks.